In an effort to grow the game outside the United States and Canada, MLB began going on World Tour games, as they are called now. The first MLB game played outside the United States was between the Cardinals and Expos in 1969 in Montreal, obviously the Expos' first year as a franchise. But the first outside of Canada and the US came in 1996 between the Mets and Padres, who would play in Monterrey, Mexico, and they would continue from there. The first in another continent was in 2000 between the Cubs and Mets at the Tokyo Dome. And after the Cubs and Dodgers met this year in Tokyo, there have been 12 MLB games played in Japan to this date. And over the years, there have also been games in Puerto Rico, where the Expos played 43 home games over 2003 and 04, Australia, South Korea, and the United Kingdom. There have also been spring training and exhibition games played in Cuba, China, and the Dominican Republic. There were plans to play a game in Paris this year, but it was canceled as MLB could not find a promoter, and scheduling issues did not allow the chance to build a field to MLB standards. And as of now, there is a game scheduled in Mexico City in 2026 between the Diamondbacks and the Padres, and the next CBA will hopefully bring more. Many teams have played a number of games in other stadiums because of scheduling conflicts or disputes, but this one is unique. In the mid-1950s, Brooklyn Dodgers owner Walter O'Malley was locked in a public battle with New York City over building a new stadium to replace Ebbets Field. When negotiations stalled, O'Malley looked for leverage, and he found it across the river. Starting in 1956, the Dodgers agreed to play 7 home games a year in Jersey City's Roosevelt Stadium. The announcement came in August of 1955, just 2 months before the Dodgers' first and only World Series championship in Brooklyn, and that made 1955 the final season with a full home schedule, all in Brooklyn. And Roosevelt Stadium brought some of the Dodgers back to a familiar sight. Jackie Robinson played his first professional game there in 1946 with the Montreal Royals, and 10 years later, he was back in New Jersey. In 1956, the Dodgers won 6 of 8 games at Roosevelt. Then in 1957, they won 5 of the 8. The final game there came on September 3rd, just weeks before the Dodgers played their last game as a Brooklyn franchise. And even in their final month, Brooklyn fans did not get a full home schedule. The team left Roosevelt Stadium behind, along with Ebbets Field, and moved west to Los Angeles, where they still play. When the Raiders returned to Oakland from Los Angeles in 1995, part of the deal included expanding the Oakland Coliseum. But that renovation came with a cost: the construction of Mount Davis, a towering block of seats that ruined the view of the Oakland Hills and left the stadium unusable for the start of the 1996 A's season. With their home park unavailable, the Oakland A's were forced to find a temporary home. Sounds kind of familiar, and instead of going to Sacramento, they went to where they are at least supposed to play in the future, in Las Vegas. And for 6 games in April, the A's played at tiny Cashman Field, a stadium that seated just over 9,000 fans at the time. The Las Vegas Stars were part of the Padres system, and Oakland's top farm team was in Edmonton. And being that it was April, that was not an option. So the A's took the offer from Las Vegas, same time zone, guaranteed money, and warmer weather, and became the first major league team to play in a minor league park since the Dodgers played in New Jersey, as we just talked about. The A's would go 2-4 against the Blue Jays and Tigers, and pulled off an 8-4-3-2 triple play. This was a real preview of the unfortunate circumstance the A's are in now, playing in a minor league park full-time, while Vegas is supposed to be in the future, joining the football team that caused this in 1996. The Padres played a few exhibition games in Hawaii in the 70s, and they wanted to play a couple of real games. In 1997, MLB went past the continental United States and set up a 3-game series between the Padres and Cardinals at Aloha Stadium in Honolulu, Hawaii, marking the first regular season game in the state. The Astros were asked first, but they declined, and the series that became known as the Padres Paradise Series was against the Cardinals. The series opened on April 19th with a doubleheader, and over 37,000 fans showed up, with Dennis Eckersley slamming the door in Game 1 for a 1-0 win. In the second game, it was Alan Bennis who shined, tossing a complete game and a 2-1 Cardinal victory. And the Padres got their turn in the finale. On April 20th, Ricky Henderson and Tony Gwynn combined for 4 hits and 3 stolen bases, powering San Diego to an 8-2 win. This coming 10 years after the AAA Hawaii Islanders disbanded, with numerous MLB players past and present coming from the state of Hawaii. Well before NBA teams played the playoffs at Disney in a bubble, the Tampa Bay Rays did, except it wasn't in a bubble. In 2007, the then Devil Rays took a 3-game series against the Rangers and moved it to Disney's Wide World of Sports complex, hoping to win over new fans in Central Florida. The field they played on had long been the spring training home of the Braves and their Gulf Coast League affiliate. But once again, we have a case of foreshadowing, as the Rays are currently playing in a spring training facility, but obviously different circumstances with Hurricane Milton. And they got rid of the Devil and just became the Rays the next season, and again played 3 games at Disney. And Tampa Bay ended up winning all 6 games played at Disney across those 2 years. But scheduling conflicts kept them from returning in 2009, and the idea quietly disappeared. And going back to the foreshadowing, talks are still in the air of moving the team to Central Florida, away from the main population, to ensure it's still hard for fans to get to the stadium. This is the only exhibition game we'll talk about, and the most attended game in baseball history. In honor of the 50th anniversary of the Dodgers moving to Los Angeles, as we talked about, they had an exhibition game in March at the place the Dodgers played at when they first came to Los Angeles, at the LA Coliseum. Most events at the Coliseum hold 92,000, but this one was going to set a world record, with 115,300 fans showing up to this game, beating the previous record of 114,000 for a game in Australia during the Olympics in 1956. The field had the unique dimensions like it did in the 50s that it had to have, with a 251 left field, with a 42-foot screen, and 440 feet to right. With all things considered, the game was rather low scoring, as the reigning World Series champions the Red Sox won 7-4. Still the world's most attended baseball game, that is until the Tigers move and play all their games at the Big House. On July 3, 2016, Major League Baseball did something it had never done before by hosting a regular season game on an active military base. The Marlins and Braves met at Bragg Field, North Carolina, a 12,500-seat stadium built specifically for the occasion. Played over Independence Day weekend, the game was a tribute to U.S. servicemen and women, with military presence front and center, not just in the stands, but also in the pregame ceremonies, the uniforms, and the atmosphere. The Marlins won 5-2, behind the efforts of Marlins legend JT Realmuto, who also hit a home run, as the site would become a multi-use sporting ground after military personnel and Zach Campbell got to watch a game for free. Numerous MLB players have played at Omaha in the College World Series, and there was a time when Major League Baseball came to Nebraska. On June 13, 2019, Major League Baseball came right before the College World Series would get underway, and it was the Royals and Tigers who would play at TD Ameritrade Park, in the first ever MLB game played in the Cornhusker State. Before the game, the 8 College World Series teams lined the field alongside the Major League players. Each school was announced with their fight song, and former Cornhusker and Royals Hall of Famer Alex Gordon would throw out the ceremonial first pitch, and Nicky Lopez hit his first career home run as part of a 7-3 win for the Royals. Kinda surprising this hasn't happened again, considering everything is right there and set, and if they do return, hopefully they will let them use metal bats. And something that has become an annual tradition is the Little League Classic. Since 2017, Major League Baseball has come to Williamsport, Pennsylvania. It wasn't easy to get there, as many thought that Bowman Field was too small for an MLB game, with only 3,000 seats. But after the success of the Bragg game, plans are finalized for the game, with $4 million being spent to renovate the field, including adding new seats, new irrigation, improving the dining areas, and moving the dugouts and the bullpens. And starting with the Cardinals-Pirates in 2017, each summer, except for the canceled 2020 edition, Bowman Field has hosted a regular season game during the Little League World Series. The players and families receive tickets, along with winners from a lottery, and players have worn special uniforms for these games, with the first nickname uniforms being seen in 2017, along with team nickname jerseys, and jerseys inspired by the Little League World Series. And this is when we started seeing the pencil bat become a thing, along with MLB players faking their birth certificates so they can win the Little League World Series. Easily the most memorable of all these came from a game played in Iowa. The Field of Dreams game in Dyersville, Iowa was years in the making after MLB again spent millions to renovate the field that was a tourist destination used in the movie, and was first scheduled for 2020, and even with the pandemic, the league planned to have the Cardinals replace the Yankees in a game against the White Sox because teams are only playing interdivision opponents and teams from the opposite division in the other league. But after Cardinals players and coaches tested positive for COVID, the game would be postponed for a year, with the original teams of the White Sox and Yankees being scheduled for 2021. And when it finally happened, it was everything fans hoped for and more. Kevin Costner led the way, walking out of the corn just like in the film, followed by the White Sox and Yankees players in throwback uniforms. And the game itself was an instant classic. Aaron Judge hit 2 home runs, Giancarlo Stanton hit a go-ahead 2-run home run in the 9th inning, but then Tim Anderson capped it off with a walk-off 2-run home run that vanished into the corn. The game somehow better than expected. And there was a follow-up in 2022, with the Cubs and Reds playing a more low-key but still memorable game, highlighted by Ken Griffey Jr. and Ken Griffey Sr. walking out of the corn for a father-son game of catch, and multiple Hall of Famers from the Reds and Cubs joining in. There has not been another game at the site, with future plans to convert the site into a youth baseball and softball complex that will one day have a hotel, with there still a chance for future MLB games. Just last year, the Cardinals and Giants stepped into history for a game bigger than baseball. Rickwood Field in Birmingham, Alabama, the oldest professional ballpark in the country, and the former home of the Birmingham Black Barons, hosted the teams for a game as a tribute to over a century of Negro League legends, and especially to Willie Mays, who had passed away just days earlier at the age of 93. Mays was born in Alabama, began his pro career at Rickwood and left behind a legacy that loomed large over the night. MLB renovated the old stadium and invited every living Negro League player to the game, who were then honored before the game. The Giants wore San Francisco Sea Lion jerseys, while the Cardinals wore the uniforms of the St. Louis Stars, as both teams wore Willie Mays patches in his honor. Brendan Donovan, who was from Alabama, hit a 2-run home run in the first and would add an RBI single in the fifth. The Cardinals held on to win 6-5, but the game was about more than the final score. Our last one here just took place last Saturday, or Sunday, in the MLB Speedway Classic. On August 2, 2025, the Cincinnati Reds and the Atlanta Braves met for the first MLB game in Tennessee at Bristol Motor Speedway, a Nascar racetrack with 146,000 seats. And for this game, they would sit 85,000, the record for a regular season MLB game. Except there was a problem, as the rain would start to fall, causing a rain delay that lasted for over 2 hours. Many of the 85,000 left, and they missed the two teams play one inning before the rain caused another delay and caused the game to be postponed to Sunday. Most of the 85,000 naturally didn't come out to the resumed game that saw Eli White hit a 3-run home run, along with a solo home run, as the Braves beat the Reds 4-2. Very unfortunate that the game couldn't be played as intended, which seems like it might hurt the chances of a return, but you never know. And that's what these games have brought: unique playing fields in an attempt to grow the game, honor the past, and of course, make money. Regardless, hopefully MLB will continue to do similar events, like maybe a version of the Sandlot, or they can honor baseball legend Michael Jordan by playing a game on Moron Mountain. Hopefully you liked this video, and if so, please consider liking and subscribing for new videos every week. Thank you.